Regular meeting of the City of Port Washington Planning Commission. We'll start with item 1 is roll call. All commissioners are here except our esteemed mayor, who is out of town on business. Item 2, I'm looking for approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. If you've read them, reviewed them, any corrections or changes?
I'll move approval.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion or comment? None being heard. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 3, public comments and appearance. Your comments are welcome. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. If you need more time, please contact the mayor and ask that your topic be placed on the Plan Commission agenda. Is there anybody would like to speak at public comments? Ma'am, if you'd step up to the podium and the microphone, please give your name and address.
My name is Denver Smith. I reside at 814 North Benjamin Street.
Okay.
I am
Tell
here
us.
to discuss the plan of the new garage at 764 North Milwaukee.
Okay, what's your comment?
My comment is I do not agree with the height of the building, and zoning laws require that that building be 720 square feet and 15 feet high.
Okay,
My point of reference is that I was here, as a matter of fact, just 1 year ago tomorrow to ask for an extension on my personal garage, where I asked for an additional 2 feet and I was denied. In keeping with integrity of the neighborhood, I suggest that we do the same for this as well. There is no building in that area that is even close to what is being asked for.
okay, thank you. Anybody else like to speak? Sir, step to the podium, please give your name and address.
Hi, my name's Dan Girth. I live at 190 West Walters. I'm a street and a lot away from Tony's proposed garage. 2 things. I don't know when he tore down the old garage, but it's already gone. There's already basic plumbing and electrical to the foundation of the place. I got the letter August 12th, and it was sent out August 10th. So it's like you're putting the cart before the horse. And the thing is going to be so big, it's going to overshadow my neighbor across the street, her entire backyard. His property values or resale value will increase, whereas hers will probably decrease because of this structure. So I think it's unfair to her, where someone will benefit from this. And I understand it'd be great to have a monstrous garage. I get that. But it's at the detriment of somebody else.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, one other thing. Kyle, he used the phrase, I don't remember the exact phrase, detrimental grievances or variance. It was like 5 minutes ago you were talking about it. And I believe that if this goes up, somebody else down the alley is going to do the same thing. So it's like this domino effect. And when do we say stop? Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak?
I would like to ask a question.
Well, we don't take questions. We didn't the last time when you were here, ma'am. I remember that. We don't take questions. You have to ask to be put on the agenda, and then we can address that at a different time.
I'm sorry.
You, okay. Anybody else like to speak? Anybody else to speak? Open comments? Okay. Public comments is closed. Item 4, special exception, request for a detached garage to exceed the maximum allowable height and open space requirements at 764 North Milwaukee Street. Fine Line Carpentry and Tony Matera are the applicants. Bob?
Thank you, Alderman Newmeyer. As stated, this is a request for a detached garage to exceed the maximum allowable height and area requirements at 764 North Milwaukee Street as shown on the above. Are proposing to create construct a approximately 24-foot high garage, whereas 15 is the is the permitted height, and 720 is a permitted area. This would be 768 square feet. I got, in addition to what we heard from the residents here, I received 4 signatures in favor. They were just the adjacent properties, and then I received 2 opposed via email and phone call. And so here is the site plan of the proposed garage. The existing is shaded, and then the proposed is shown on the dashed line. And then we just have plans of the garage. The purpose of the garage, the larger garage, is to accommodate more of a rec room space in the upper floor of the garage. And just up until a month or 2 ago, there was an ordinance to allow for, instead of just storage space in an upper portion of a garage, there was an ordinance to change that just to allow for home occupation and recreational allowances. And so that is the impetus for this larger garage ask. And just reviewing the special exception criteria in the zoning code, we do have the minimum zoning requirements of 720 and 15. The special exception allows the Plan Commission to grant to deviate from those standards, provided the special exception does not, and this is stated in the code, does not adversely affect surrounding properties by way of noise, dust, odor, appearance, or other objectionable nuisance issues. And again, the code was, the zoning ordinance was changed to allow for these types of uses. It did not allow for upstairs bathrooms. So therefore, there's a bathroom on the lower floor, which is, this is why the garage in area is a little larger than what is a minimum requirement. So just given the context, and I think you just see it right here. The garage is located in the same location as the current garage. The detached garages existing along along that public alley. Some, as far as the area goes, range from relatively small 300, and there are some in the 700 to 800 square foot range. Given the special exception criteria and recent code allowances for those upper space uses, staff recommends approval.
Comment from any of the
That's
commissioners?
all I have.
Bob, across the street from this, aren't there a couple of garages right on Walters and that are the alley, the next alley over to the west? Aren't there a couple with 2-story and actually have the height, similar heights?
I looked at as the height issues as far as special exceptions granted, and there's about a dozen. And I went back to like 05, I think, 04, 05.
Okay.
Some range from just over the 15, or some are in that 22, 23 range.
Okay.
And Bob, that is special exceptions for the height, correct?
Some were both height and area as well.
They were.
Some were.
Okay. And the garage at 814 Benjamin that we denied last year, that is compliant in both square footage and height. Is that accurate?
And the owner can, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that was for a larger area garage.
But that falls within
Yeah,
the 15-foot
there was an
height?
offset approved, but the area was not approved, I think, because of the, it was for storing equipment, and I think there's that storage shed component to the code where if you can attach the storage shed or have a storage shed-like building attached to the garage, you can, by code go up to 870, I think it is.
Right. And in that email that you had sent to us, it looks like that that height on that is not 15 feet.
I don't recall a height being considered. It was a special exception for area offset.
Okay.
That looks much taller than 15 feet.
But, you know, the garage that's in front of you, you know, there is the special exception criteria.
But in terms of use, it complies with the recent ordinance.
Oh, the upstairs use complies with the recent ordinance.
So just looking at, I was looking at the building sections and things like that. We've got a over 9-foot floor to ceiling in the garage portion, the first floor. And then to the peak or to the edge, you got another 10 feet. It seems pretty high. I mean, I'm looking at the elevations and it almost feels really, I'm looking at the north-south elevation. Seems really kind of out of proportion. It seems taller than it really should be for that style. It feels like you could lose 2 feet and it would feel better. That's an opinion, but.
Yeah, so. One of the applicants is here, if you have any questions for him.
Yeah, this just looks
Am I on all the time here? Yes. All right. Good evening, Nick Suddendorf with Fine Line Carpentry. We will be the builder for the garage. There is precedent in the neighborhood for garages of this height across the street. I don't know, 10 years back, Jeff Zerbis built a garage with a bonus room above it. Down the street at 654 North Milwaukee Street, there's a very similar structure of the same height and same appearance as well. The garage behind this is over the square footage that's generally allowed. It meets the height requirement, but I think that's Weiker's garage. Part of what's driving that height that Mike just asked about is we wanted to clear span the front to the back wall of the garage, so we didn't have to have a post or an intermediate beam in there. So we're using floor trusses, which are a little bit taller than a typical TJI, which is where that extra 10 inches or foot ends up. The first floor walls are 9 feet, and we kind of went back and forth on that, but I think the exterior elevation showing the garage doors, the 8x8 garage doors, it looks really nice, proportional, and kind of good. That lower, it would be the lower right elevation there. If we were to drop it to 8-foot garage walls, we would have to go to 7-foot garage doors, which just doesn't look as nice. It is a tall structure and a big garage, but I think we've done a really nice job making it fit the neighborhood. The shake up top matches the house. Colors are going to be similar to the house, and I think it's going to add to the whole neighborhood. I don't know, any other specific questions?
Nick, I mean, I see your point that, you know, the TJIs definitely do add to it, and it makes sense to try and clear span if you can. I still feel like that north and south elevation just seems really tall. That bottom piece. You know, and I see the east elevation looks a little bit more proportionate, but I think if you dropped it even 2 feet, even if you kept the higher doors, I think you could still keep the higher doors, couldn't you?
Well, we have 8-foot doors and 9-foot walls right now. So to get the opener in there and the track for the
Right.
garage doors, we need that. We need that extra space. On the second level, I think the knee walls are
Looks like 2 foot.
2'4.5", which really isn't. I mean, that's keeping it kind of as low as we can on those gable ends. And then in the middle, we have the 8-foot shed dormers, which isn't. Part of what's driving this is we wanted that lofted space, a higher space in the middle of that upstairs,
Right.
which is why we use the scissors trusses.
So the 8-foot doors, you don't think that a 7-foot door would look right? I mean, most vehicles, even Suburbans, can fit in a 7-foot door.
I guess that's personal opinion. I like a taller door. You know, my house, I have tall doors and they're narrow. There's nothing wrong with a 16x7 garage door, but
Yeah,
I find that when they're, taller, they look better.
okay.
So if I'm understanding this right, you're doing this so you don't have to post it, support it with a beam then by having.
Yeah, the taller floor trusses that form that second floor structure, they're able to clear span from that front wall to the back wall. And if we did a different floor system that might be a little bit shallower, we could pick up possibly 10 inches there, but then we would have to drop a beam across the middle of the garage and have a post, something else in there, which is undesirable for a lot of reasons.
What would have allowed it to fit within the zoning ordinance?
No,
I don't think so.
no, because the zoning is 15 feet. At best, you're gonna gain a foot, at best.
Yeah.
Changing that. Whereas if you changed it, you lowered the doors,
Gotta speak into your mic, Mike.
lowered the ceiling, you'd pick up at best 2 feet.
Possibly.
So I know that it looks like the height is taller if you look to the south. In terms of footprint, is this gonna be a little bit smaller than some of those garages on the properties to the south and across the street? Just trying to get an idea of footprint.
Well, I mean, when I look. Yes, I know, thank you. Looking at that alley, there's a number of even larger footprints than what's proposed. It varies, as I say in my report, it's between 300 and over 800.
So it's kind of a mishmash.
It is.
I think it was a good question, Mike. I appreciate your answers. Nick, I'll move to approve the staff recommendation.
We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second for it?
I'll second. I will second.
Any further discussion or concerns before we vote?
So we have in our ordinance 720 square foot footprint regulation or limit for an accessory use garage. that can be increased that footprint can be increased by having a shed attached to that to get that to 870. Was there any attempt made in the design process to try to accommodate both the zoning ordinance, at least at the square foot area, and work within the parameters that every resident should? Or was it just, we'll go for the special exception?
Well, I think in this case, because of the change in the zoning recently, but bathrooms not being, you can have the rec room space, the home office space, but no bathrooms upstairs, and that's because of continuing discussion about ADUs and et cetera. And so, but bathrooms have been allowed downstairs, and so I looked at this as, you don't use a shed to have a bathroom.
No, but there's a lot of area to the north of that garage that could be redesigned in a way to be shed and act as a shed and visually look like a shed to better accommodate the ordinance for that. So I just was curious about that.
I can't read the dimension, the distance from the door, the north garage door to the wall.
6'6".
So, and we're 40 square feet over, you lop off 2 feet, you'd be within the square footage.
Again, I think some of that comes back to, I guess I'm not 100% clear on the shed portion of the ordinance. That's kind of new to me tonight. But shrinking the building, I think we took a lot of care to design it in such a way that it was proportional and looked good with the house. And given the height, if we shrink it 2 feet, it starts feeling, as Mike said, the one elevation just looks kind of taller. And I think it ends up doing that.
Further discussion?
Nick, I mean, I appreciate everything you've said, and I understand that. But boy, I'd like to see what it looked like by reducing it a little bit more, whether it's square footage and down, and see if it can still work. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but I guess that's my opinion.
But to your opinion, Mike, I would say I would like to have seen this designed within the parameters that the city has laid out already, work within those parameters and see what that looks like. If it does not fit, then that is cause for special exception, I feel like. But I think what is presented for us to vote tonight and has a motion on the floor to vote for approval of is something that does not appear had any consideration to be worked within any of the parameters that are set for.
So, but I want to understand, so if the ordinance is 15 feet, there's no way you're getting another half story up there, correct? Even though our ordinance has changed to allow bonus rooms above there, there's no way you're getting that in 15 feet.
Well,
Is that correct?
I think practically speaking, I think that's correct.
And I make one more comment, or? Just Kyle's point about us not necessarily going through that process. We've built and seen garages similar to this built right across the street and down the street on that Milwaukee Street area. Exceeding the height, the allowable height and the footprint. Adjacent properties, and we were. This is a big project for the owner. The square footage is really what they're after, and so yeah, we kind of said this is what we're going for.
I would say reading, if I take our code and I'm reading the staff report and it says the standard for granting a special exception does not adversely affect surrounding properties by way of noise, dust, odor, appearance, and other objectionable nuisance issues. So first of all, as far as adversely affecting surrounding properties, we have a number of the surrounding properties who've stated that they don't have an objection. Noise, dust, odor, or nuisance, excuse me, I don't think that'd qualify. Appearance-wise, I think it's an attractive structure, and I think we have a homeowner who has the ability to, I think, improve the appearance of his garage. I've been down every alley in the city, and some of the garages are in pretty rough shape. This is an investment, and I think again, it almost goes to the discussion before with height restrictions. He's put the cedar shake on the siding. I think he's gone above, to try to improve the overall appearance. And so, I think so again, but all that said, getting back to Bob's report, I think the appearance isn't objectionable. It's, obviously we're talking about whether the height is objectionable, but I think that taking the ordinance and the recommendation of the planner that a special exception fits for this garage.
The area isn't objectionable?
Well, I guess that's up to, right. Well, again, back to the zoning code, it's whether the appearance is creates an objection. And I guess that's up to each of us to decide. But like I say, my argument is that I do not object to the appearance.
But I guess the issue with all of it is it's not just appearance. There are a number of items here that are not in accordance with our ordinance. Yes, there are a list of people here who have approved of this. They're okay with it. They're neighbors. They're adjacent to the property. There's also a number of people who have expressed their displeasure with this. One spoke tonight. We have an email from another person tonight. Bob's taking a call on that. Maybe we need to take a survey. We now have precedent setting both a year ago where we denied someone this. So do we go back and say now we allow that? But then we have precedent set yet again, just a block west where there is something that's okay. And I wasn't on this committee at that time to allow that to go on. I don't know what the support was of that. I don't know what the objections were for that. I can't say for that, but there are a number of issues here that are open. I don't even think 720 square feet is even reasonable for a garage of today with the size of cars and the things that we have to put in garages. I think that whole size is completely crazy, but I can't just make that go away right now. But if we've already denied somebody this, within a year ago, and it is no more than probably 500 feet away, it's a very difficult and slippery slope we put ourselves on when we deny somebody that, and then we go through the process of allowing a special exception for a former member of this committee.
Okay, but I would say that, of course, we don't want to be arbitrary, But we're not talking about the other garage tonight, and to be perfectly honest, I don't remember all the details of that garage. I don't want to put Bob on the spot to provide any other information because we're really not talking about that garage right now. If they wanted to bring it back, I suppose they could. I'd be happy to look at it again. But I'm just taking the city planner's recommendation based on the code and other precedents for approving larger garages.
But by doing that, we also have to take precedence for garages that we didn't allow get built to be bigger,
Sure. And
which is why that other garage has to be part of this discussion.
it can be. I seem to recall there was some other component to it. That's my vague recollection of it.
It was 784 square feet that they were asking for.
Yeah, but it was I can't remember. I really cannot.
And Commissioner Ehrlich and I met with the owner after, explained the piece in the ordinance that we have where you can have a garage at 720 with an attached shed for 150 additional square feet to take it to 870. That was the process that we went through. This committee denied it. The owner had to go and build a compliant garage. I don't see how there's much different here. There is design that is added to it. I feel like from the character, it adds to the neighborhood. Certainly spruces up what was there. But it's an extremely slippery slope that we go down when we start denying some people one thing and allowing it for the other, and there's really no difference between the two cases.
I do think, just trying to remember the other garage, there were some differences. I mean, architecturally, this is much different than the other garage. It's, there's a lot more detail, and it's not near as plain. And so that there is a little bit of a difference that I think you have to take into account a little bit, that because if we are going to do a special exception, you got to look at, okay, what are they doing additional to be able to make it fit better within the neighborhood? Does that make sense? Yep.
Was there a set? Honestly, I don't
I thought
remember
there was
the
a
details. Wasn't there a
setback to it.
setback issue?
There was an offset issue that was granted from 3 feet to 1.5.
Okay. Yeah. So it was that on top of the size of the garage? Yeah.
There were.
Bob, can you clear up the recent ordinance that you guys passed involving the space above garages, or that kind
Yeah,
of?
what it was is detached garages. They were previously, you could only use an upper space for storage. And the new zoning text change now allows for upper floors of a detached garage to be home occupation or recreational, domestic recreational space, with the exception of a bathroom, and that would be, it's always been allowed if you wanted to put one on the ground floor, but not on the upper. So you can now have the type of space that's being asked for here.
So I guess with that, this is the product that you want if you're going to allow that. I mean, this is a very nice garage. It has a very nice space above it. We've, architecturally matches the house. It looks good. And if the city is going to allow those bonus spaces, which, again, there's precedent for that all down Milwaukee Street already, I would think that this is what you want. I mean, this is that recreational space. It's in a beautiful building. It's on an alley that has garage footprints larger than this. And, when it comes right down to it, I think it's going to improve property values up and down the street.
To the point of that, I do remember that discussion. I don't think anybody had concerns on the commission about allowing that type of use above a garage, but it might have been an oversight on our part not to discuss height at the same time, because if you're allowing that type of use above the garage, height should have probably been addressed at the same time. You know?
So I'm going to just say, Nick, I generally, because the architecture has gone above and beyond and some really nice detail, that I would support this. But I do think that there's some architectural details that I'd like to see more. So like for example, looking at that height and seeing if there's anything to squat it a little bit. But also even where the deck is out the backside, or you know, the posts seem really skinny and granted, I know it's the scale of the building, but really there's I think a missed opportunity to add a little bit more
We
architectural detail.
actually talked about the posts earlier today, and we, on the plan, they're shown right at the outside edge of the deck, and we shifted them in a foot to allow a little bit of a cantilever, both on the sides and the back. And they'll end up being a 6x6 with a wrap on the bottom. I think they'll,
So it'll be
I
kind
think
of
that wasn't
a
really
little bit of a base
discussed
and-
so much when we were putting that in there. They just, yeah, it'll be a heavier post.
Okay.
Further discussion?
I would only add that Bob, along with our building height issue downtown, one of the things that we do need to look at as a committee is both the areas for garages, accessory use garages, and the height of garages, because I do agree with Commissioner Ehrlich. I think the design of this is very appropriate for the neighborhood. I think, Nick, you did a great job on the design of it. It looks very fitting and appropriate, but with the constraints that we have with our current zoning ordinance, you cannot have what you've got a, you know, there's no way you can accommodate a 12 by 10 pitched roof or a 10 by 12 roof with the constraints that we have. So we need to look at this, because we will have this argument every time. And we'll have to, if we want to stay with the precedent that we've had, deny good products like this because it doesn't fit within our zoning ordinance. So I would just add that.
Yeah, well, as
moving
the
forward.
commission expressed interest for, as did the council, you know, there is going to be, you know, probably ordinances coming down the line as far as looking at, not ordinances, but we'll be looking at ADUs at some point, and so that will have to be wrapped into it.
So for my information, what is the actual height difference we're looking at here from the way our ordinance is now and the way the structure is? What are we over? 9 feet?
So so what's the peak of this roof is at 24?
23.9.
Yeah. But the 15, Gary measures to the mid peak. Or,
That's my understanding, based on what he told me.
okay. So it's not necessarily 9 feet above, it's something less.
That's I'm not clear on. Is it actually,
Okay.
What is the height measured to?
Previous special exceptions in years past have always gone to the roof, but according to the building inspector, his measurement is to the midpoint of the gable.
That just seems absolutely ridiculous. It's measuring a mile halfway. Okay.
But
That's
the
what
previous
inspector-
special exceptions have always gone to the peak.
To the top of the ridge of it, okay.
Yeah, 23.9 is to the top of the ridge.
Sorry. Any further discussion or comment?
Yeah, I would just echo what Kyle said. I think this is worth taking a look at, generally speaking, because the garage size and height limitations that we have now make the ordinance that was approved earlier this year kind of a moot point. So I think
Right. Yeah.
And if we're measuring things only halfway up the roof, too, it
Maybe some clarification,
really
maybe some
goofy.
clarification on that when we discuss it would be good.
Can I ask why you would do that? I always thought you measured from the peak. When I sided my house.
Not that too.
Okay, I'm just curious.
But I do, I mean, and I don't know if this is why, but I mean, I think, steeper peak is generally a better look.
Right.
Right.
And so it discourages flatter,
I suppose,
yeah,
yeah.
right. If you measure it to the midway, that would discourage people who are just putting in flat roofs to meet the
Get
code.
higher, yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if that's the reason. It's complete conjecture.
Any further discussion, comments, additions? Commissioner Knopp? Anything else? Commissioner Ehrlich?
Nope.
I'm ready to vote.
Okay, we're going to vote. All in favor of granting the exception to the height limit as proposed? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
One nay. Motion carries. I'm sorry.
You're talking to me.
I know. Item 5 is the final plat for the Highland Point subdivision located north of Newport Vista Drive, south of East Sauk Road, east of Ozaukee Interurban Trail, and west of Highway 32. Highland Point LLC is the applicant. Bob?
Thank you, Alderman Newmeyer. This is the final item for the Highland Point subdivision. As stated, it is located just north of the Newport Vista Drive and Windrush and Misty Ridge Lane, south of East Sauk Road, and then west of Highway 32. The developers, this is for the first phase of the Highland Point subdivision. It is, looks like it 38 lots on the eastern half of the subdivision. Quick background, the concept plan for this was approved in April of '21. The preliminary plat was approved by the Plan Commission in December of '21. And the developer's agreement for this was approved by council in earlier this month at its August 2nd meeting. The zoning is RS4 single family when it was annexed into the city. The plat meets those dimensions. There are a couple, in far as it is my recommendation is conforms to the comprehensive plan and the preliminary plat. Staff recommends approval. I do want to point out that during the review by Emergency Services, they requested that Highland Point Way and Highland Point Court be combined to simply Highland Point Way to avoid confusion. And then I noted just a couple of minor name corrections on the signature block. And I want to add that the plat that was just handed out at the meeting addresses those two items that was submitted by Newman Development. And so with that, I recommend I recommend that the council recommends to the Common Council to approve the final plat. There is a representative from Newman, I believe, on the conference call, if you have any questions.
I do. Go ahead.
I just have one question. So the outlot 4 is shown, I would assume that's the second phase or phases 2 and 3. Is that with the developer's agreement, is it established that it's locked in all, single-family lots, or is there the potential in the future to come back and propose different uses back in there?
No, the preliminary plat that I'm showing up on the screen, that's the presumably phase 2, and the developer's agreement takes in the entirety of the subdivision.
Yes, Eric. On sheet 4 of the packet that was distributed, under the general notes, item 2 or 3 calls that out that outlots 1, 2, 3, and 5 are dedicated for the exclusive use and drainage of stormwater management. So those will always remain open.
Sorry, I meant outlot 4.
Correct. So that's the note above that. Outlot, where it describes outlot 4 is to be retained by developer for future development.
It was just more of a use question in
Yep.
zoning.
Yep.
Thank you.
Let me just take this pause. The other handout I had for this item was just kind of it's from the Plan Commission handbook that puts out by the UW Extension. And it was suggested that we give this a try, and essentially it's for plats and zonings. And it's just kind of a checklist guide for commissioners as kind of an approval checklist as you're reviewing this. And you don't have to act on it now, but if it's something you want to continue or include in your packet, just let me know. But it's essentially just a guide to look for when reviewing and approving plats.
This is Kevin Anderson with Newman Development. I'd like to make a comment real fast.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Thank you for letting me join via phone. Wasn't able to make the drive up there tonight. I just want to comment on Outlot 4. As Bob mentioned, we do have a preliminary plat approved. When we submit the final plat for Outlot 4, it'll be in substantial conformance. Anything outside of substantial conformance can be denied, but our intent is just to finish off the 82 single-family lots in Outlot 4 as approved with the preliminary plat.
Does that answer everyone's questions? I have a question, Bob. With the Outlot 4, when should we going to require them to have some type of connection to the interurban trail?
There is one in the,
There is one. It's
Yeah.
if you see on the preliminary plat, it's Outlot 5.
it lines up with
Oh, okay.
Highland Point Way. Yeah.
So the connection to the trail, is that owned by the HOA, or is the city required to maintain that?
Good question.
Usually that's owned by the HOA.
And even though the HOA owns it, it is still accessible to the public, the general public?
It's a public way.
It's a public way, but maintained by the HOA, not the city.
That's my understanding.
Will that be in the final agreement, or do we have to wait till they form an HOA? Not that we have this discussion down the line.
Again, this is Kevin with Newman. That Outlot 5 will have the connection to the interurban trail, and it will be maintained by the HOA. That's HOA property, and we pay for the install, and then the HOA maintains it. So we can place a public easement over that if need be, but that is HOA, the lot owner's responsibility to maintain.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? None being heard. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None being heard. The motion carries. Thank you.
And this will be forwarded to the next Commons Council meeting for final approval.
Mike. Moving on to item 6, building site and operations plan, proposed entrance vestibule for the Ozaukee County Administration Building at 121 West Main Street, Ozaukee County, is the applicant.
Okay, I'll just kick this off and then hand it over to the applicants, just to provide details and answer questions from the commission. This is an entryway proposed for the Main Street entrance to the Ozaukee County Administration Building. It is just real quick. It's essentially for to provide. Well, I'll let the applicants get into that, but essentially it's to provide for a more secure entrance with metal detectors and scanning, and also address and improve ADA entrance. This item went to the Design Review Board at its August meeting on Tuesday, yes, last Tuesday, and they recommended Plan Commission approval. The applicants are here, and I'll let them give a little more detail on the addition.
So hi, my name is Leah Anderson. I'm with CUNY Architects. So like was alluded to already, it's a roughly 500 square foot vestibule addition. The main goals for this vestibule would to be increase ADA. There's a ramp coming up one side. The other side does have another stairway up to create 2 new entrances. Once inside the vestibule, the goals are security. So it provides secure entrance with metal detectors in a secure area for security employees, put it that way. It does have a dual entrance, so it does potentially lock someone in a space while they're being reviewed to move on to the next space. So that's the security aspect of it. Moving back to the architecture of the exterior, the goals were to take elements from the existing admin building. One of the big key elements that we're pulling from is the existing banding across what is around the second level. And also to not exceed the height of that banding, to not take away from the existing courthouse, and to limit our impact on the existing courthouse building. So maybe I'll kick it off to questions. I mean, that's a brief overview.
So I work for the Sheriff's Department, so I'm familiar with their screening system. So this is going to be a similar system that we have now at the Sheriff's Department. Can you please introduce yourself and step up to the podium?
I'm Joe Hicks, Building Superintendent for Ozaukee County.
And so it's going to be the similar setup as now at the Sheriff's Department with the body scanner and then X-ray machine?
That's correct.
And it'll be, as the gentleman explained, it'll be more of a locked-in system like we have where you can't enter till you've gone through that screening process.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Leah, I just wanted to say that this is you did a great job here with this in keeping the character of the historic courthouse building, but then also doing a really good job of giving a nod to the existing administration building and recognizing what you all had to fit into this bag to make it work and not have people piled up on top of each other. So this is, it's very admirable what you got here and the solution you've arrived at. It really looks nice.
Thank you.
Yep. I would,
Yeah, it was well received at design review, so, yeah.
I have one question. I'm trying to understand the sidewalk. Are you maintaining the sidewalk in front of this whole thing? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if it was kind of bumping out and then coming back in or anything.
Nope.
It's not
Yeah.
like-
The new addition terminates right at the existing sidewalk line.
Okay.
Yeah, Bob's showing it right now, so, yep. Microphone.
Turned it on. This is really a nice addition to this. It feels right, you know? It really just feels like it fits, and which is not an easy feat with the historic portion, and then combine it with the administration and still feel like it's a good connection.
Yeah, great, thank you.
Any further discussion, comments? Looking for a motion.
I would move to approve.
We have a motion, we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Any further discussion? None being heard, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None being heard, the motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Okay, we're on to item 7, special exception, request for monument sign front setback reduction at 218 East Washington Street, Port Washington State Bank, the applicant. Bob?
Sure. This is related to the Port Washington State Bank's conversion of the former Dairy Queen building into a community room. And as part of this project, the Port Washington State Bank is asking for a 5-foot monument sign to be placed 5 feet back from the property line, whereas 10 feet is required. And the purpose of the setback is that, just given the configuration of the lot and the building, having the 10-foot setback would essentially obscure the visibility of the sign, and they would be asking for 5 feet to just give it that visibility. And then I didn't have it in this packet because it's not under, but essentially here is the monument sign and the placement for it.
Will that be lit?
No, I think it'll be I don't know if the external lit, thank you. But given the location of just the junction or the utility box, and then just the 10-foot setback versus the 5, the visibility of it, staff recommends approval of the special exception to.
Discussion?
Can I ask, how is it going to be externally lit? Is it going to be spots on it? Is it going to be?
If you state your name and please introduce yourself. Thank you.
Oh, is that what those kind of angled things are there?
Yes. Yes. Tom Lubner with Primecast Advertising. Yes, we're trying to figure out exactly what the shape will be, but there'll be a ribbon of LEDs mounting onto the capstone and will be shining up.
Okay. Okay.
So Bob, the exception is just for the setback. It's not for the size of the sign or the height of the sign?
No, actually, this is the first sign to use the updated B4 monument sign requirements.
So,
It went from 6 feet to 5 feet.
yeah.
Just smashing good sign.
gonna say, I'm a stickler for signage, and this really is probably one of the first ones This is probably one of the first that's come in since I've been on the commission that looks like it's made a real effort at being compliant with the code. And I know that due to the site, there's the challenges. So I appreciate, the size and the height and everything
Thank you.
fitting.
This is, I've been, working with with Tom on this in a couple of iterations, and this turned out to be the monument sign and the new height requirement. It looks good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll move to approve.
All right, we have a motion on the floor.
Second.
Second, we have. Kyle? Any further discussion or comment? None being heard, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None? Motion carries. Thank you. We're now on to item 8, minor review, exterior color and material change for the proposed rebranding of the Country Inn and Suites Hotel, 350 East 7 Hills Road. Variant Hotel LLC is the applicant. Bob?
Thank you, Alderman Newmeyer. Typically, we see swapping out colors is not a large issue. It doesn't even rise to this occasion. But in this case, because it's a material change, and there are some minor changes to the exterior with the grills and the shutters, I felt that because of the material changes and the exterior, the entire exterior, it rose to the review of Plan Commission. But what's happening is that Country Inn and Suites will be undergoing a change. It'll be a Holiday Inn Express. And then as part of that, they are taking on the Holiday Inn Express color palette and design. And so what's going on here is they're swapping out the vinyl siding with ephes, and then there'll be a paint color change, and then the grills and the shutters will be removed. And so it's pretty much as it is. It's a minor change just to take on the Holiday Inn branding and palette. But it is just switching out materials.
But
By the way, thank you, and staff recommends approval.
Bob, this, to clarify, this is just for the hotel building proper, does not include the event space and the bar to the east, or does it?
My understanding is. Huh? Well, I'm hearing, yeah. No, it is the vinyl from the entire building is going to, I believe, is ephes, or of this building here. So I think it's the hotel, because I know my understanding is that the what's the name of it? The catering or the event space, and that's remaining, but it is just swapping out the hotel ephes vinyl with the ephes.
Okay, yeah, and I didn't know with sort of the change in ownership, both hotel with the catering and all of that, if that also then included building as well. I guess my only concern would be that this group would approve it, but find out that that was really only limited to the hotel building and did not include the event space side of it, and that would remain vinyl siding, and it would look kind of,
They would clash.
yeah.
Given the application and what's shown, I am going off of the hotel is it is switching to the Holiday Inn Express. That is the hotel.
And that's the way the renderings kind of show it as well.
And I don't know what the ownership piece of that is anymore if Holiday Inn Express doesn't have any ownership say in any of the maintenance of the building to the east.
I thought from what I understand, the friend who works there, they own the entire building.
I don't know, but there's not enough information there for me to feel comfortable with that. Is there any way we can table this and you can get some assurance that this includes the components to the east, the bar and the event space and the catering operation?
I can, if the commission wishes to do that. They are, they're on their timeline, but the commission has the opportunity to do that, given that, I don't know if anyone representing the project is even here or on the phone. They did receive notice of the meeting. But based on the application and what I was received, it's the hotel that's swapping over to the Holiday Inn branding.
So, to Commissioner Knope's point, can we just table this, remove the item, and
We could table it, or we could approve it conditionally that it's the whole building.
That was what I was thinking.
That way, they, if it is the whole building, they can go with it, and they don't have to wait the month for the next one. And
If
if
that's
it's
what they
not,
want.
then they'd have to come back.
What if the answer is no, it's not the,
Then they're gonna have to
Then
wait
they
to
come back. Yeah, right.
all right?
At least they have an opportunity.
Right. Right.
I mean, the siding's off already.
Not my problem.
Contractors.
But yeah, I
She's
agree.
gonna
If
kill
that's
us.
what the commission wants, I think we should just tell them, and then at least they've got a chance to comply rather than having to come back regardless, if that's what they intended. And yeah, tell them next time to come to the meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's,
that's really unfortunate.
So how do you want that worded, Bob?
Well, I mean,
I would make a motion to approve with the condition that the vinyl siding is being replaced with EFS on the entire building, including the event spaces, not just the hotel portion. Is that clear?
Yeah.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion or comment? None being heard. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None? The motion carries. Thank you. Now we're on to item 9, forthcoming events.
Labor Day?
Could be. All right, we'll go with that. Nope, now I'm on to 10, adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? None being heard. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We're adjourned.